So I've made it to week 10, and the theme for this one was recovering a sense of self-protection. So a big overarching thing that I got out of this is there's a lot of things that can influence your creativity. There's a lot of things that can cause blocks for your creativity. And it's just understanding what those things are and then the ways to kind of overcome it. And the chapter talks about a few different topics. So one of them is dangers of the trail. So obviously, whether it's a trail, your path, whatever it is that you want to call it, you're going to come across things that are going to pause you or stop you or throw things in the way that's going to limit your creativity. And for me, just say it might limit my ability to write or wanting to write. So it could be a mix of like food, alcohol, drugs, work, sex, love, like all those things, although sometimes can be good, can really influence in a negative way. And it's the additional stops that you do with those particular things that can affect the flow of creativity. And it also can dull the creative voice as well. So if you're, for me, sometimes if I'm having like a bad day, a little bit of nice food or whatever it is can be nice, but there's a danger to that like emotional eating. And it's just, again, like it's just a blocker. It's just like a self-sabotage type thing. So usually those kind of stops, like if you have a really like greasy meal or whatever it is, or like a lot of carbs, you don't really feel like doing anything after. You can put yourself essentially in a food coma. So it's just understanding what these things are and then trying to limit them to stop your creativity or stop your flow rather than just not feel like anything and just want to have a nap or whatever it is after when you have some of these things. It's about when we reach for the blocks as a form of comfort and just knowing that it slows the growth that you have. And then it's the choice of the block to always work in the short term, but always fails in the long term. So it's that short-term gratification, and it's just knowing that it may make you happy now, but in the long run, it's just going to have more harm than good. It's just a level of self-sabotage. It's just understanding that, again, in moderation, those can be good, but too much of a good thing always ends up being a bad thing. And then sometimes following the flow energy of creativity can create a sense of like shake or like out of control feeling, and the reaching for these blocks is a way to feel control in the short term. So yeah, like to say if something happens throughout your day and you had literally no control over it, then you do the things that you do have a sense of control. And again, that's just a short-term band-aid and doesn't help you long-term. So using these as a like self-sabotaging block is not going to help you at all along your journey. So again, it's understanding what these are and then knowing hopefully in real time that you can overcome them or make better choices, I suppose. With work, for me, I've done a lot of work to make sure I don't spend too much time at work or make sure I don't spend too much time thinking about it. It does still creep in on my days off and in my afternoons, and every now and then I find myself checking an email or answering a question or things like that when I don't have to, or I have other managers that can do it for me as well. But again, it's just that sense of control and just that sense of knowing that I can let go and I don't have to worry too much about it. But again, for me, it's just making sure I like clock out on time, creating boundaries. And they talk about having a bottom line. So whether it's boundaries or bottom line, like trying not to cross that and just making sure you keep that for yourself. And yeah, it's just work doesn't equal worth, which is what I really like. So even the amount that you work or what it is that you do for work, that doesn't create your own self-worth. Like that comes from within. So you can't get that from external factors. When it comes to personal worth, you really have got to like embody it yourself, and it's really got to come from within. And it was really good because in that particular chapter, they have like a workaholism quiz that you can do to see if you do work too much. And then just knowing that work is a block, not a building block. So again, you could be working towards something, but just say your standard 9 to 5. If you really focus all that energy into it, it can really be more harm, especially if you want to focus things outside of it and want to be creative and things like that. So just knowing that when it comes to having a job or when it comes to the job that might not be the creative thing that you want to do, it's about having those boundaries or that bottom line to know, all right, when I'm at home, this is what I'm really focusing on. Won't check my emails, won't answer questions or anything like that. So just being very, very mindful of it. When it comes to the drought, so it's just understanding that dry seasons will happen. Like, yes, you can be creative and constantly creative, but you're going to have some dry spells of no inspiration. You're going to feel like that nothing new will come along, and it's just about keep showing up, keep doing the work, like keep doing morning pages. And it's just understanding that if you keep with that rhythm and keep with that discipline in a way, that eventually that creativity is going to come back, the ideas are going to come back, and it's going to be some struggle and there's going to be failures, but it's in failures there are opportunities. And like in a drought, if you keep showing up, then it will rain or the river will flow, or whatever analogy that you want to use. It's about when you have those moments and when you feel like it's all pointless and you have no inspiration, just show up, do the writing, do the work, and eventually the ideas will come and eventually they will flow. Another part, it talks about fame. So fame can be addictive, but you can lose yourself. And it's also understanding that you can take credit when credit's due, and that wanting that is not a bad thing, but knowing that, you know, if you get to the end result or whatever it is, it just might not be enough and it can erode away the joy of it all. And then when fame hits and you feel like you might be losing yourself, then you kind of go back and do the basics. Like you do the work, you know, you go to the easel, the keyboard, the camera, the clay, and you pick up the tools to have that creative play and find some joy again. So it's just understanding like what that foundation is. So to say if you do become super famous from your art or from whatever creative thing that you wanted to pursue, it's understanding that if you go back to what it is that began it in the first place, it kind of can combat that sort of feeling of wanting more, or maybe like the shiny lights or whatever it is. So it's just always coming back and doing the work and being like proactive and stuff about it, and just knowing that fame can be, you know, a drug or a danger or whatever it is. And then, yeah, again, it's just making sure you preserve that creative child that you have within you. It also talks about competition. And I think a lot of the times when it comes to competition, that's really a way for doubt to come in and to creep in. So when focusing on the accomplishments of others, we take our eyes away from our own. And I've been guilty of that. You think about like, oh, why are they better, or what do they have that I don't have, or little things like that. And in that process, you kind of lose sight of what it is that you're working on personally as well. Like everybody has their own journey and their own path. So it's just remembering that, yes, the other people are going to be out there creating and doing the same things. So it's just like eyes on the prize in a way. So keeping it focused and knowing that you've got your own things to focus on and your own things to do, and not focus too much on what everybody else is doing. And it's always that desire to be better versus the simple desire to just be. So just be yourself rather than trying to be better than everybody else around you. It's a very short-term thing when focusing on something like that. But when you focus on yourself and what it is that you're doing, that's very long-term, and it's taking care of your creativity as well. I really like the part where it talks about ego demands for work to be original, but really everything is influenced by everything. It's all influenced by other art and people and surroundings, and originality still can happen, but it's not as common. Like everyone's getting influence from each other, and I think it's just understanding that you can't be 100% original, but you can be 100% yourself. And I think that's a really good takeaway from this particular part. And then I really like the idea of when responding to art, it's a resonance in terms of the own experience. So everybody puts something out there and it's how you receive it or how you perceive it. And that's kind of what it's all about. And then they talk about don't judging art too early, as it needs time to mature. So it needs time to incubate, sprawl, misshapen as it emerges, and the ego wants instant gratification and the addictive hit of acknowledged win. But it's about being patient and letting it grow naturally and letting it grow organically, and not trying to force these ideas, and just understanding that you could have a chapter written, or you could have, you know, some colors or whatever pointed out, and you're like, oh, I don't like this, and you're judging it way too early, but you don't know what it's going to turn out to be. These are just the beginning stages. So it's just about being patient about it and just seeing where that art will turn out to be like. And I think, yeah, that's some just really good points to remember, and just know that instant gratification, not a good thing. About being patient, and it's about the long game, especially when it comes to having healthy creative acts long term. The tasks for this one were actually pretty interesting to do. So with the first one, it asked to draw a particular name 7 times and then write down 5 points how they negatively impact your life or negatively impact you. And even if you draw that name multiple times, you have to write every single time. So the ones that you had to do were alcohol, drugs, sex, work, money, food, family, and friends. You just wrote them on a strip of paper, and then you just, draw them from I just had them in like a little pile on the ground. You draw them out, and then you just kind of like write down how they can stop you from being creative or just negatively impact your life. So I drew like family and friends, alcohol twice, work, money again, and then family and friends again. So even if you don't draw the others, it's just about that practice of understanding what these things are and then either trying to fix it or limiting them impacting your life to begin with. Then it talks about touchstones, so things that you love. So whether it's around, I wrote a few things here about fresh sheets, fresh flowers, the smell after rain or a thunderstorm I really love, freshly baked bread, like the waves crashing, like nature sounds, like a fluffy blanket, like it could be a massage. It's just about things that bring comfort and things that feel like a warm, cozy hug. Then I asked you to really dig into some truths. So this one's called The Awful Truth. So it's about what habits can get in the way of your creativity, like what's the problem, what do you plan to do about it, what's the payoff, which friends make you doubt yourself, which friends believe in your talent. And it just goes through and trying to figure out, I guess, what constructive habits do they all share, or what negative habits they all share. And again, it's just that diving into all these influences that are stopping you from being able to like protect yourself, which is a theme of the chapter, or things that are going to make you almost like be defensive and stuff and like on the fight. Like you want things that are surrounding yourself to be joyful and comforting, and because when you feel safe, then you're very creative, or you feel comfortable. I know for me, like I'll feel comfortable writing. Then it asks to set a bottom line, so about your boundaries. I tried to write a few things that I need to be more conscious of, especially when it comes to work, so not checking for anything after 7:30 p.m. or even just not checking anything before 6:30 a.m. as well, because the last thing I want to do is roll out of bed and then check an email, and could be something bad or it could be something good, whatever it is, but I just don't want to get into that habit of just thinking about it first thing. I want to be able to ease into the day, making sure I have like deep work zones and be able to communicate that as well, so I have some focus time to be able to write. Making sure I stick to my writing blocks, even if it's just the 2 sentences. So again, just showing up and doing the work. No work emails on my day off, and then just being able to communicate a little bit more like how I'm feeling. So if I need some space or if I'm having a bad day, just being able to communicate that to my partner so then they understand what's going on and not being like left in the dark or things like that. So just understanding what are my boundaries and then how I can get better at communicating them, or just being a little bit more firmer with them as well. After talking about boundaries and habits and things like that, it asks to list cherishing things. So whether it's 5 small victories, 3 nurturing actions taken for your artist, 3 actions you can do to comfort your artist, 3 nice promises to yourself and keep them, and then do 1 lovely thing for yourself each day of the week. So again, it's just these self-care acts that you can do. So whether it's around writing more, making sure that I continue on my artist dates, like taking a bath, just creating a nicer environment to write in, like meditating, making sure I continue doing the morning pages and continue doing YouTube, wanting to like bake something. So again, it's just finding all these little things to like nurture and, you know, just aspects of like self-care that you can do on a regular basis. Sometimes these tasks are good and sometimes they're, I don't know, they feel dated or they just don't seem relevant to the chapter. But this particular one was just again about finding things that bring you comfort. And that's what, you know, being able to have that self-preservation aspect and just knowing if these outside influences or, you know, people going through your boundaries or dangers on the trail, whatever it is, you can always come back to this list and be like, all right, these are the things that will nurture myself. These are the things that will make me, you know, take a step back and reboot, or just take a step back and enjoy the moment and be present. So with these exercises or tasks, it's just understanding that you need them in some aspects when things aren't going well or life gets a little bit crazy. You can always just come back to these and feel a bit better. All right, so with the check-in, so I did morning pages, 6 out of 7 done, which is awesome. So I seem to have that momentum, which is really, really good. But again, I just don't want to make sure that I'm putting it up on a pedestal or anything like that and not really being like down on myself if I can't get all 7 done or if I can't get all 6 done. So it's just knowing that I'm showing up as much as I can to be able to do those morning pages. And has reading changed the pages? No, not really. So I'm just going through it and, you know, taking notes and putting little sticky tabs and stuff on them, but I haven't felt like it's influenced them too much. I'm just making sure that I'm really making it free-forming, that I have no rules to it. Some days I might find that I'm doing more of a to-do or planning out my day. Sometimes I'm doing creative writing. Sometimes I'm diving into a particular emotion, or sometimes I'm diving into a memory or something that's happened. So again, it's just no rules when it comes to morning pages, and that's what I really like about it. with my artist date this week. So previous week I did pottery. So this one I painted all the pottery. Now it was all dry. Again, not the best pottery to use, but I really enjoyed the experience. So I think next time when I do plan for it for an artist date, I think I might just get some more of the, not the bougie kind, but just the better quality stuff that's not gonna snap if I do it too thin or just pick it up and it just breaks apart. But it was just nice. I was be able to paint, and yeah, it was just calming in a way because I already had made it. I didn't have to worry about it drying or anything like that. And I had some movies on in the background. I just, for a few hours, I was just like painting and putting flowers on things and stuff. And it was just nice and relaxing, which I think was the whole point of it. Again, it was another week at home. So I just want to make sure that next week I actually go out and do something, be a little bit more inspired and just get out the walls of the home that I live in. Did I experience any synchronicity this week? So still writing. I'm really trying to replicate that deep work state that I had last week. And again, I just don't want it to happen once a week. I want to be able to do it a couple of times throughout the week. So it's just understanding and creating that space for myself and having those moments to be able to just lose time. And I look up and I've been writing for like 2 hours. Like I really want to be able to have those moments because I feel like that's where I make the most progress. But again, it's about allowing myself for that time to be able to do that as well in the first place. And then ask for any issues. So again, it's just 2 weeks in a row at home, and I just really need to make sure that I go out for the next one. Although I did enjoy the 2 weeks at home because I was watching movies, I was very relaxed, I had a lot of like writing momentum and everything, but I think the ability to be able to switch it up and go outside is really important. So I just want to make sure that next time that I go out and do something that's just for me, and again, just getting some little bit more outside influences rather than just like watching movies or, you know, just painting at home or whatever it is. There's nothing bad in doing that, but I want to make sure I split it up a bit and do a few different things. But that's week 10. Overall, not too bad. So learn a few things about how to, I guess, get out of any like negative mindset, or learn that I've got this whole big list of things that are self-soothing and things that it can help take care of myself when the world is getting tough or negative influences and stuff and all that kind of thing are getting my way. So, you know, if I'm ever struggling, I can always just come back to this list and, you know, do little things to look after myself. And I think that's the whole point, especially when it comes to looking after your inner like artist child. It's about knowing things that can help recover. And I guess that's the whole thing about all of the artist way. It's like recovering a sense of something that can help your creativeness flow and get rid of all the blocks. And yeah, that's the whole point. So 2 more weeks to go.